Alright, today you have to look at how to write the equation of a hyperbola given information about the graph. It's pretty easy compared to graphing them. I would suggest, I guess I like to graph the points and things that are listed in order to figure out which way my hyperbola is going and all of that fun stuff before I figure out the equation. So let's look at a couple. Let's try this. Vertices at 7, 5. So one vertex is at 7, 5, the other one's at negative 5, 5. And your foci are at 11, 5 and negative 9, 5. Okay, so what that tells me, basically it tells me it's opening left and right. So that means my x is going to be first. And I know that by if I graph these 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 7, 5 and negative 5, 5. So if those are my vertices, that means my hyperbola is going something like this. Something like that. Now, that doesn't tell me the center, but I could find the center. The center has to be the midpoint of those. So 7 plus negative 5 over 2 and 5 plus 5. So the x value is divided by 2 and the y value is divided by 2. So that means my center, 2 over 2 is 1, 5. My center is at 1, 5, the point 1, 5. So it means h is 1, k is 5. And since it's opening left and right, we know that x is first, it's positive. So I have x minus 1 squared minus y minus 5 squared equals 1. And now I just have to figure out the denominators of those. Well, I know that my center is at 1, 5. My center is right here. And I know that A should be the distance from the center to one of the vertices, and they should be the same distance. So from 1 to 7 is 6. So it means little a is 6, so a squared is 36, and that's what goes under there. Now my foci are at 11, 5, so way out here. Here's a foci, and negative 9, 5. And what they can tell me is my little c distance, the distance from the center to the foci. So from 1 to 11 is 10, so little c is 10. What I got to remember then is that c squared, for a hyperbola, c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c squared, 10 squared equals 6 squared plus b squared. So that gives you like 100 equals 36 plus b squared. So that tells me b squared is 64, if I subtracted right. B is 8, so b squared is 64. So that's the equation that describes the hyperbola with the given vertices and foci. Alright, let's try another one. What if I tell you that you have foci at 9, negative 1 and negative 3, negative 1 and a conjugate axis of 6 units. Alright, so my foci are at 9. I don't know how many I just did there. It looks like 9. Negative 1 and negative 3, negative 1. So if I know the two foci, I can find the center. The center is the midpoint between the foci, or the midpoint of the vertices if you have them. Okay, so the center of this would be, well, if I do this quickly, how about 9 plus negative 3? That's 6 divided by 2. So 3, and then negative 1 plus negative 1 divided by 2 is going to give me negative 1. So the center is at 3, negative 1, right here. What else do I know? I know that from the center to one of the foci, which would be focus, we can find that the distance from the center to the one focus is going to be, well, 3 to 9 is 6. So little c is 6. So little c is 6. We know that the conjugate axis is 6 units, which means my vertices go out here somewhere, right? My vertices are, maybe we'll just say here and here. My conjugate axis is when we draw the rectangle, it's that other distance. So from the center, you would go up 3 and down 3. So that's that distance b, little b. So that distance b is 3. So that means b squared would be 9. And my foci are horizontal. So that means, once again, this is an x as the positive term. So x minus 3 squared plus, no, how about minus y plus 1 squared equals 1. And I know my b distance, that's the one that is over the subtracted term, or under the subtracted term, so b squared is 9. I just need a squared. And I remember that c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So 36, that's where I got from 6 squared, equals a squared plus 9. So a squared equals 36 minus 9, which I believe is 27. So then I can put 27 right here. And I have my equation with foci at 9, -1, -3, -1, and a conjugate axis of 6 units. Now, this is what you're going to do today. I showed you 2 horizontal ones, but obviously you might have some that open up and down. The only difference would be that your y term is first when they open up and down, or is the positive one. Okay.